Today we have Royce Ashcroft. Did I pronounce that correct?
You pronounced that correctly, man.
Excellent. So I'm very excited to have him on as a guest today because his rap sheet is incredible. Let me just list some of the things he has on his business card. MC, voice actor, model, motivational speaker, men's stylist, game show host, and extraordinaire, and co-founder of Noor 17. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
All right, I'm on a roll. So, Royce, I don't even know where to start, but how did you get all these things onto your rap sheet? Like, what did you want to do when you were younger? What was your goal or your ambitions?
Well, whenever I was younger, I always knew that I wanted to do something related to TV. And growing up watching Price is Right, Bob Barker, that was my inspiration. And a weird one too, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, he just seemed really nice, very friendly.
Yeah.
And I like the whole Bob Barker aspect because it seems like he had so much fun doing what he did. And have you ever watched The Price is Right?
I've seen a couple episodes, but I haven't been like tuned in to the extent that you have. But yes, I've watched a couple.
Well, the thing about Bob Barker is that he looked like he was 80-something years old, and he was well into his 80s, I believe on 90-something before he retired, somewhere in that ballpark. So he got up, and he just enjoyed doing what he was doing. So that was my inspiration behind doing what I want to do, and I said, hey, whenever I get older, I want to be a game show host. So
that's so important too, because I noticed a lot of people in their life, once they retire, like their life goes downhill and they actually start to like die earlier. Like it's sad, but it's true. You need to keep on working, but you need to have something like that where you enjoy and it keeps you fun. And I think, game show host would definitely be one of those things that can do that.
Exactly. And from the pursuit of trying to become a game show host, I watched a commercial of the Jeopardy game show host, Alex Trebek, where he was speaking about it was more than just being a game show host. He had to understand the whole spectrum behind it when it came to every single part behind the scenes. Not necessarily that he needed to micromanage or that he needed to do it, but it's just really good for him to understand everyone else's place and position so that way he can better lead the show.
Right.
Because as the game show host, although he might not be the executive producer, he might not be the one who's calling all of the shots with it, the majority of the credit goes to him as being the host of the game show. So he has to be the perfect spokesman. He has to be his best advertiser. He needs to know the company in and out. So the best way is just through experience, hence why there's so many other things on my business card.
Right. So those things are all really to kind of promote your talk show, so to speak, or the game show that you're pursuing, right? Or is it just those things are also other side jobs that you really just enjoyed?
Both.
Both.
They're both side jobs, but they're also things that do promote it. Your whole life becomes your promotion whenever you take in a spotlight with anything entertainment, anything that's in the public's eye. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's really important to understand, especially with this amazing boom of social media. I love it because at one point, I'd say like 10 years ago, whenever I was in college and whenever you would meet different professors or anything that would speak about that they had, whenever they would go on TV, people knew them from 12:30 to 1 o'clock, whatever time that they were on.
Right.
And that was it. But now with all of this easy access to behind the scenes and extra bonus footage, people really get to know who you are. So it's really important that you're, sensible, that you know what you're talking about, that you can just kind of show them like, this is why I'm in the position that I'm in, because you do get challenged with that, with being the game show host or with being kind of that spotlight, that MC on stage.
Right.
And it has definitely happened to me before where people say, well, I want to be that MC. And, they're the camera guy. I'm like, okay, well, here you go. Here's the mic. It's all yours. And then they'll freeze up. But I don't do that to belittle them or anything. In fact, really to encourage them, let them know that, hey, I was videographer for a while. For 2 years, I did wedding videography. So that way I could just learn the camera. I could learn placements, lighting, how to edit, everything. So that way whenever I say like, hey, I would like this done this way, or I think we might have a better shot if we did it this way, that it actually makes sense and I'm not just, I'm walking the walk and not just talking the talk.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And so this was something that you always wanted to do since you were a little kid. You never had like those, like normal job, kind of what kids want to go for. I hate to say like normal job like that, but you know what I mean.
I get it. It's funny because with my name being Royce means royalty. So
reminds me of a Rolls Royce too.
Exactly.
It's pretty cool, yeah. And you got the car in the background too. Like it should be a Rolls Royce.
I wish it could have been. One day for sure. Whenever somebody decides, hey, take a picture in front of my Rolls Royce, because that's what happened with that one.
Oh, really? They just said, hey, take a picture, or did you ask them?
We were at a photo shoot. My fiance, Amari, she is a runway model. And she was at her first gig ever. It was honestly one of her most favorite gigs to date so far, because there's just so many great supportive people out there. But one of the producers of the event, that was his car, and he said, hey man, you actually look like you should be the one taking pictures in front of my car. Can you stand in front? I said, I got you.
So you just happened to be wearing a full suit too that day.
I always wear suits whenever I'm out. Like 90% of the time, if you catch me, it's usually in a suit. So if you don't catch me in a suit, even like today, most people would see this and freak out and go like, man, dude, where's your dress pants? Where's your tie? So
right. So for the people at home, just so they know what we're talking about, one, on his business card, he's posted up next to a car in a full suit. And today he's wearing, mind you, this is in his house, 9 a.m. I don't think he's left his house yet. He's wearing jeans and a button-up shirt while I'm over at his house as a guest in flip-flops, gym shorts, and just a regular shirt.
It's all good, man. This is how it always goes. I start my days off early. I like to wake up, honestly, as early as possible. Whenever my eyes... Do you
set an alarm, or just when it naturally happens?
When it naturally happens.
So do you go to bed early then
Sometimes. Last night, I did not go to bed early. My fiance, she wanted me to stay awake with her and help her, kind of motivate her to finish her hair. So I stayed up with her. You got to do that sometimes.
Yeah. Sacrifices.
Yeah.
So what time do you usually go to bed at then?
It varies, because at this point in my life, I'm getting more and more consistent gigs. So I am finding myself going to bed way later than I normally like to, but it's a good thing, because I'm actually living that life that I'd always dreamt of before.
Right. So going out doing the talk shows at night, or just other things at night?
The talk show is during the day.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my other gigs that bring me money, such as I run a weekly open mic competition where a different artist will come out, they'll perform, Is it like rap? Is it stand-up? Is it poetry? It's funny because it's all of that, anything auditory and dancing. So if,
cool.
rap, poetry, I'm not the biggest fan of rap, despite my skin color. Mainly because when I was younger, middle school in particularly, whenever I'd hop in the car with my friends or family once they're coming to pick me up, that's what the default radio station was always too, was rap and hip hop. So after a while, it just got oversaturated in my life. And
were they white people like who were driving?
White,
just assumed?
black, Hispanic, everyone. They're like, oh, Royce, especially in Tallahassee, they had 2 hip hop stations, so they always went to the default one. Here you go, 102.3, and you just keep hearing the same thing over and over and over.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So when I got to like 11th grade, I said, I'm done. I am not doing that anymore.
What do you listen to now?
Honestly, my favorite song to listen to, one that I get a lot of inspiration from, is called Pachelbel's Nightmare. It's a contemporary classic piano piece.
Classical.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I listen to a lot of 80s music, a lot of Queen, and that's the majority. That's the gist.
Do you play any music or any instruments?
Yeah, I play the piano. I teach piano lessons as well, too. I need to update that on the card.
I don't know if there's any more room to update the card, man.
I kind of take things out. Whenever you were reading them off, there's one where I put extraordinaire. That one, I didn't want to put that one.
Yeah, I didn't. What does extraordinaire stand for?
It's really just
Just your personality.
Yeah, just to let people know kind of that et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
If there's something else, whenever people speak in conversation with me and they ask, is there anything else? Or if I happen to bring up something, I let them know, like, yeah, it kind of fits under that. The whole piano lessons extraordinaire, it's all in there.
Pretty cool. When did you start taking piano lessons? As a kid or taught yourself?
3rd grade, I started taking piano lessons. And it's funny because I just had a friend come over and he played the piano just as beautifully as I do. And I said, that is amazing. You should also teach piano lessons because you can make some good money from it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know how to read music at all. He plays completely by ear. So that's something that
That's impressive.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm like, man, how?
Now I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do you think creativity, would you consider yourself creative first?
100%.
Okay. Now, is creativity something that you're born with, you either have or you don't, or is it something that you can grow and develop that if you don't cultivate it, obviously you're not going to have it, but if you work on it, you can get better at it? Is it like a skill? Can anyone develop it?
I would like to say yes, and I would point to my biggest inspiration at the moment, my fiance. She, before she met me, says how much she lacks imagination, creativity, that she has none of it. Whenever she'd be in a group and they had to come up with a project or anything, she never wanted to give her ideas. She never wanted to speak out because she felt that her ideas just weren't good enough.
Right.
And that people weren't going to accept them. But we've been working with her to voice that and to just try it, because you don't want to put yourself, you're limiting yourself when you're saying, I don't have good ideas, I can't come up with it. It just takes practice. That's what I think it really boils down to. If it's something that you want, absolutely it can be nourished.
That's what I think so too. Because even through my own personal experience, that's what I've kind of noticed. But I listen to other psychologists and people who, are doctors, and they say, the research shows, I don't know what research they're talking about, but Jordan Peterson, for example, not sure if you've heard of him, but he specifically says the research points out that some people are creative and some people are not. And there's nothing you can do about the people who aren't. And he said it's the reason why is just, over time, the people who were creative, they stuck their head out. They were into more dangerous spots, and they were killed off from these things. And people, especially tyrants, they didn't like people who were creative and challenging the status quo. And that's why there's not a lot of creatives and there's more orderly people, because it's kind of, if you're creative, you're kind of more on the chaos side. Whereas if you're not creative, you're kind of order, stick to routine. I don't know if that's true, because I feel like I have a balance from both. It
makes a lot of sense, because although we're working on my fiance's creativity, it's a struggle. It is a real struggle for her, and she'll sometimes say, Royce, I just can't. And we'll do different practices. There's even ways I help people boost their creativity, and I like to see what kind of level they're at. And one of the biggest ways, rather than getting them to show me any of their music or their art or anything that they've worked on, I simply ask them to close their eyes and then tell me what they see. And some people will tell me that they see lots of different lights going on, lots of different patterns, different energy formations when they close their eyes. My fiance, she says she sees nothing. And I say, how do you see nothing? That's something that I have never been able to conceptualize ever. Even as I'm looking at you right now, there are infinitely many little tiny light color particles just dancing around, almost as if I have a film over my eyes that sees like almost a whole nother world in a way overlapping.
That's definitely unique to some creative people then, because I don't see that either. I'm like your fiance. If I close my eyes, I'd see nothing.
Nothing at all.
I mean, okay, I see like the light kind of reflecting into my eyes where I can kind of see maybe some yellow spots here or there. But I don't see like pictures or like a tree or anything that I can point out and say, this is that. I just see maybe like, okay, a couple lines, couple things here or there.
It's funny because I actually envy you and her, mainly because I would love to be able to see the world like other people see it, at least for just one day, to see nature in its beauty, unfiltered, undistracted.
Oh, so you think you don't see it? as beautiful
don't.
as we do. Really?
I see it in a different. It's just a different perspective.
Right.
The sky. Whenever people say, "Yeah, the sky, it's blue, it's big and blue and beautiful." Whenever I look up, I understand. I get it. What you all mean as far as that, it's just a good solid blue. Imagine if there's no clouds in the sky.
Simple. We look at things very simple.
But I see red, yellow, and blue dots, almost like little eye floater type things everywhere. But they're not quite eye floaters. They kind of remind me of fireworks. They're just everywhere going on.
It's very interesting because, you know, there's colorblind people. We've all heard of them. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard of these people where it's legitimate. They see letters as colors. So certain letters will always be the same color. So I don't know if this is exactly for them, but they might see A's are always red, B's are always yellow, C's are always green. So when they see like a name, that name is colored. And it's not that they're just imagining it. Like, they can't help it. That's just the way that their brain is wired. It has like almost combined those two circuits. So it's almost like you have like not that to that degree, but like you have some kind of circuits where like you see different, see things combined where we don't.
For sure, it's a blessing and a curse, but I always I focus on the positives in life. That's just my go-to. I like to just be the light for things. So
now, are you orderly? Like how? Because you have creative, so you're not. So you can't keep a schedule.
I got a team for that.
Wow.
I am definitely. It's funny whenever you were talking about the balance of being creative, and there are those who are more orderly.
Because that's what they say. They say there's two people. So if you're naturally creative, you tend to lack order or conscientiousness, which means just pretty much order, and you tend to be more open, which. Creative people tend to have a higher IQ and are more intelligent, and they lean more to the...
I'll take it.
They lean more to the liberal side, just politically speaking.
Yeah.
And they tend to be the people who start businesses, whereas the people who are more orderly, conscientious, stick to the rules, they create a to-do list, they tend to be more on the Republican side speaking. And this isn't exact science, not to say that you're for sure like that. It
sounds like... Statistically and through my experience, I can vouch for exactly what you're saying.
Right.
The folks who work with me, with my fiance and I's company, we started a company called Noor 17. We got our LLC back in April. We actually had our official launch party this past August. We are a vegan modeling and talent network. So with that, we throw the International Vegan Fashion Show every year. This will actually be the first year.
Are you a vegan as well?
Yeah, okay. Been vegan now for 2.5 years.
Awesome.
And it's something that I always try to just share and encourage with people. I'm not that guy. I will never be that vegan that's going to sit there and force it on you.
We'll get into vegan and talk about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You're talking about a talent show or with vegan model?
Yeah. The people who work with me in that, the ones who are closest kind of at the top with us, I have everyone take the Myers-Briggs personality test, and I don't sit there and like judge people and say, "Oh, okay, well, this is 100% sound," because I only use it to base it off a few principles that it has. It pretty much you get classified in your 4-letter acronym. Mine, for example, is ENTP, which translates to the debater. I love debating people. The E stands for extrovert. The N is my intuition. The T is for thinking because I'm more logical rather than feeling. And the P is for perception. And whenever you have kind of this more perception perspective spectrum that it talks about, I see great ideas and I'll do them, and I'm really good at starting them, kind of like how you said about the business. But whenever it comes to actually getting things done and rolling with it, or as far as being organized, not me at all. But everyone around me, I make sure that they have that last letter of J, because J's are usually just by the book. They want the schedule. They want to know if we have an event from first minute to the next minute to the next minute. They want to have it all written out. I'm an improviser.
Right.
So we combine our talents and try to make something beautiful from it.
There's another test that will, I think, make it very, very clear for you as well if you want to try it. It's called the main 5 personality test. And it's between conscientiousness, neuroticism, openness, agreeableness, and extrovertedness.
I have heard of, what's the name of that test?
I just type in five personality tests.
I'll
five
check
traits.
it out.
But what it will do is, because I scored, my highest thing was conscientiousness, and that means you are orderly, like you like order. So I have a to-do list from the hour out to here, and what they typically say is that the people who are high in order tend to be great managers and they're really good at running the company. But when the company encounters a problem, they need somebody who's creative to say, let's go in this direction. So that's why creatives are fantastic at starting companies, and then the orderly people are great at running the companies.
Yes.
So that might help you if you see, oh, this person scored high in conscientiousness, they're probably going to be very good to run my part of the business that I need to. And then if you see somebody who's very good at openness, you can tell, they're probably pretty creative. They're going to be good when I need to brainstorm.
That is it. And that's how it literally goes. And that's why I try not to let my fiance get frustrated whenever she says, I'm lacking creativity. She feels as though she literally does not have an imagination, or that it has been severely dampened. And we try to go back and look at and analyze what could have been the cause of that. And we know that it boils down to just the way how she was raised and programmed.
Yes, yeah. Here's why I'm confused with why I don't know if creativity is inherited or if you can develop it. My mom, she's creative. She makes jewelry. She loves creativity. Her grandpa used to paint pictures and everything. Me, never had a desire to paint, do any of these things. Didn't want to draw. Didn't want to play instruments. I just wanted to play sports, and very logical. I was like, I don't see how you're making the connection with this. Like when people would look at paintings and be like, I see this, I'd be like, I just see lines. I don't know what you're talking about. But here's the thing where it's a little interesting is, I was never put into an opportunity to really test my creativity because I never had a desire for any of these things. But my mom in middle school, she put me into guitar lessons. I didn't want to do it. So I really didn't care for it. But I went down to the music competitions. They're like, oh, do you want to use your notes? Again, I didn't care about this. I was like, no, I don't care. Playing, I got trophies from every single competition that I did. Like, I was amazing at it. I just didn't care for it. And then another example is when I'm in constraints where maybe I don't, college student, don't have a lot of money and I need to figure something out. Like I figure out, or if I don't have equipment for exercises, like I figure out ways to do the exercises untraditionally. So maybe if I don't have a pull-up bar, like I'll just go use a tree branch. Like I'll find something, a new creative way to some kind of substitute. Or when I wanted to do stand-up comedy, right? I was always told I'm not funny, but I was like, let me just put this to the test. It took me like 2 weeks to come up with a good little bit, but I did it and it was very well.
Very nice.
So it's like, how was I able to come up with these things? Or is it just that I just have to work harder and anyone can do that? I don't know what that means. I can be creative, but I was never put in a situation to develop it. So that's why I'm kind of confused with it.
I truly believe that it's just a part of your brain that's almost like a muscle, like anything. It's
right.
Looking at your physique, it's very obvious that you work out, man.
Thank you.
The same way that you work out, you have to work out that creativity.
That's what I think. What I think. Yeah.
I want to ask you, how did that comedy set at Dandelion? You said it was Dandelion that you had went to?
Was it the Dandelion? I think it was a It was a vegan restaurant.
I believe. Yep.
Yeah, the Dandelion.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. Yeah.
How did that go for you?
So I was there, and usually my friends told me they're not that good. Like the comedians, sometimes they're really bad. So I'm there, I'm listening to all the comedians, waiting for my turn to go. I don't know when I'm going to go, and everyone's just killing it. They're good. I look over to my friends. I'm like, are they normally this good? They're like, no. So I end up being like the last one to go. But to my surprise, like they all laughed at every single one of my punchlines. Like it was really good.
Nice.
It was only like a 2-minute bit. Took me about 2 weeks to come up with.
That's how it goes.
But I did really well, and like I posted on Facebook, and just everyone just saying like, "Wow, that was really good for your first comedy thing." And I was just like, it's very hard to come up with, but the fact that I was able to do it just kind of shows like maybe I do have creativity, but I just don't ever use it.
That's all it is. Because when I first met my fiance, I had her take the Myers-Briggs personality test as well too.
Right.
She scored things that doesn't exude creativity. But we have been working with that day after day. Not really something that we, sit there and like hone over, but every chance that she gets, we try to make it a creative opportunity. Try to let her show off her art, her personality, whatever she's thinking, because I get to show off mine all the time.
Yeah.
All different aspects of life. So I enjoy when other people do the same thing. She has now, her personality type has switched, which I thought was interesting because I've taken the test now on 3 different occasions at 3 different times in my life when I thought there's all this tremendous growth and things have changed. But every single time I scored the exact same on the test consistently.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I do believe that as you continue to work on that creativity, it'll feel difficult at first because even it's the same thing if somebody wants to start going running or jogging.
Right, yeah.
People come out and run the 5Ks with me, and they're like, man, I don't know how you do this. Whenever I first started, it was difficult. But as you continue to work through it and your body gets used to it and your mind gets in that mindset that I'm going to finish this race, then it becomes second nature after a while.
I think what it is that you can train yourself to act and become any of these things. Just you can't necessarily train yourself to enjoy those things or to have that pull. So for me, for instance, like with fitness, even as a little kid, like I was always just trying to do sit-ups, like always just into fitness. Whereas other people who maybe are not into fitness, it's not to say that they can't get into shape. They absolutely can. But maybe they just won't enjoy it as much as I do. And maybe it might be the same for creativity. Maybe I will never be pulled like, oh, I just want to go draw. Maybe I have to schedule it and say, you better sit down and be creative. Whereas someone who doesn't like fitness has to do the same thing. You better sit down and go to the gym, like schedule this time. But like you were saying with switching personalities, I was always an introvert as a kid. Like I was super shy, would hang around my mom's leg at the playground, like wasn't leaving, wouldn't talk out in school or class or anything. Super insecure, but that bothered me so much that I just transformed into like people now view me as an extrovert. They would call me very extroverted, where I went out door knocking, cold calling. I'm in Toastmasters, public speaking. Like I like say what I have to say. I speak my opinion. But still, I'm not sure if maybe that inner desire of introvertedness has left, because they say if you go to a party and you leave full of energy, you're an extrovert. If you leave and you're kind of like deprived of energy, feel like, oh, I need a nap, you're an introvert. And I still have that I like to go to parties, I like to socialize, but afterwards I'm like, I do kind of want to just go home and watch Netflix and relax. Like I am worn out. I don't know, do you get like that, or do you get energized from parties?
I can relate to you. Going back, starting with the school, whenever I was younger, I was an introvert. I didn't.
Okay, right.
Yeah. The school that I actually was raised in, it was a predominantly white school, so I stuck out.
Yeah.
And I was there my whole life. So trying to fit in and meet friends sometimes was a more difficult challenge. So I would kind of just stay off to myself from time to time. But as I got older and people at the school were actually very open to having me there because I was, a nice guy and I was just different from everybody else, it made me want to actually be on stage more, just talk to people more. So I had to work on being extroverted.
Yes.
And I feel personally, this may not be true. I don't know if there's any science behind it, but I feel as though my life is easier when I'm extroverted.
100%.
Yeah, because I can tell people, they're more friendly to me. They know my needs. They know what's going on in my head. So it's just a lot easier to communicate with people rather than whenever I do tend to my introvert attributes, which I still do sometimes. I'll leave a party and it's just hit or miss. It depends on the vibes at the party, honestly.
I think it's okay to be an introvert, but you just need to know how to be an extrovert when the time is necessary.
Yes.
You need to know how to.
All about balance, man.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I preach very heavy to a lot of my friends whenever they come to advice. I'm like, it's all about balance. Don't try to be so much of this one way. Just know that, the other way, people see me as extrovert all the time. And if you ask anybody in my life, they will tell you, oh yes, Royce, he's 100% extrovert. That man, he will talk your ear off, or he'll be up on stage, make you laugh, whatever. My whenever I come out to them and say, actually, guys, I am 50% introverted as well.
I would say the same for me.
Yes, I need my alone time. I enjoy my alone time.
Now, if you're tired, right? Let's say you're just kind of like tired for the day. Do you like to hang out with people still? Do you like to still go to parties, or do you have to be like on, energized, in the right mindset to go to a party and socialize?
It's easier whenever I'm already on, and honestly, at this point, it's kind of what is the party about? Am I going to get something of value from it?
Right.
Because if I'm not, then I just can't do it. But if I feel as though there's going to be good people there, good vibes, maybe there's somebody I'm looking forward to meeting, usually a business connect or somebody who's been wanting to do something creative with me for a while. Like even this, like I was looking forward to doing this. Whenever you sent me the message to follow up this morning, I said, wow, thank you so much for being on time. Like that means so much to me, honestly. So it's just all about balance again.
Yeah.
Sometimes, most of the time, I'm really good about getting that energy to go out and do it, but sometimes no. I just want to stay and just keep it off.
Yeah, that's what I noticed for myself. I have to be in the mood to go out, or I have to psych myself up, because I feel like when I'm talking to somebody, I have to be, and I don't know, I feel like even as an introvert that some people just aren't good at like conversations or socializing. Because I've noticed, because I've tried to run experiments sometimes, because I usually lead the conversation or talk, and I think maybe I'm asking too many questions or talking too much, so let me just shut up and not do anything. But they don't do anything either. It's not like they pick it up. They just sit there and look at you, and I'm like, well, this is awkward for me. Do you not feel awkward?
I am the same way, and I have learned that with my fiance. Again, I talk about her a lot because I have. Are you in a relationship?
No, I had a girlfriend freshman year of college, but since then, no.
Hey, work on yourself, man, because one thing about whenever you get in a true relationship that really, it's going to better you as a person.
That's what I've realized from my first one. I don't want to just jump into one and say I have a girlfriend now, which is what I wanted for the first one. I just wanted to say I had a girlfriend. Now I'm like, I kind of really want someone who is someone that I want to be like.
Yes. That is so important. Whenever people will see my fiance and I, and a lot in our community, people say you two are the model couple, and we appreciate it, but it is so much work, and it's ridiculous how much we have to learn from one another. But it's great. And I feel as though if you're not learning from the other person, that you should not be in that relationship. It's one of the easiest ways to determine whenever people ask for that type of advice.
How long have you been together?
We've only been together now for a little over a year and some change.
Oh, congratulations.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, so are you planning on staying in Florida once you guys get married, or you want to move?
She has a severe case of wanderlust. She wants to go and travel and explore. She's been here in Orlando for many years, I think over 10 years now. So she's just kind of ready to go out and explore. And our lifestyle, they definitely are opening doors for us to do that. So we don't necessarily want to just move and stay in one spot. Once we move from Orlando, we want to make sure we have way more than enough finances to just travel all over and make sure that we're getting booked after gig after gig. You know, if we're going to Japan, it's because we've got a gig. Same thing with London. Same thing just wherever we go. We want to make sure that we're hooked up.
Yeah, that's the lifestyle that I want to try out too, and just experiment and see how that is, because I still don't know exactly what I want to do. So that's why I kind of want to just travel, experiment, try different career paths. And
you're doing a great job.
Well, I love this. This is something that I will do even if I don't get paid for it or don't make money, because it's just a lot of fun. It's
a passion, man. I like that. And that's one thing that I always tell people as well. It's about passion. Be passionate about being passionate. Because if you're doing just that, then it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're giving your all into it. You're enjoying it. You're putting out the best vibes for it. And other people are going to be able to pick up on that. And they're going to feel your vision 100%. And they're going to want to help you and just really see you succeed. And whenever others want to see you succeed, that's whenever you really start succeeding.
Absolutely.
And I say that because for the longest period in time, I would try doing things and making different projects work. But it wasn't until other people started saying like, wow, I believe in that guy. I want to see him succeed. And then they could help me. I didn't have to do the whole thing myself. Because any project you have, it's like a baby. You know, it takes a village literally to raise that baby. So as more people want to help out with it, you just start seeing it grow and grow, get more productive, more beneficial. Just overall, you're creating an awesome community with no matter what you're doing.
Cool. And when you started the talk show host, when did you like start? Okay, so you realized that's what you wanted to do. When did you actually like put it into action, and how was that? Like, what were the mistakes that you made, and when did you actually get this thing like, okay, now I understand how to do this. Now this is working.
It started when I was living in Tallahassee. I was born and raised there, and just like you, with that whole first, okay, I'm going to go out and try this open mic thing, I knew that that was one of the steps that I would have to do, is get used to making a crowd laugh. So I had my first gig, or I did my first stand-up open mic in Tallahassee. And once I wanted to travel here to Orlando because it felt like it was the best of both worlds. I wasn't too far away from home. It was a big city, not too big of a city, but big enough to where I can do consistent things to work on my craft.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, I started a game show. I didn't really want to start the game show. I wanted to go ahead and start a talk show because I wanted to just get footage. I wanted to get experience of me doing things for entertainment. So whenever I was talking to one of my roommates at the time, hey, we're about to start this game show thing, TV talk show thing. He has his cameras and all of his sound equipment. He was going to help me with it, but he said, you may want to do something different because you're going to want something that's going to captivate. You're going to want something that people are going to actually want to tune into, something that's different. So a few days went by and I thought about it that, well, I've always wanted to be a game show host. So why don't we do a game show? He said, that's perfect. But that was a lot of work trying to put it together, come up with a game, which we did a couples-based game. It was a lot of fun and people saw the beauty behind it, but it was so much work. And that's the thing about being an MC or a game show host or any TV talk show host for that matter. You have to prepare 100% on you. You really don't have much time to help out behind the scenes.
Now, what do you mean, like, prepare on you?
Prepare on you as far as taking care of your health, making sure you're coming up with different jokes and just recording them, writing out your script, practicing it, because you can set up all these things before the show, but then, hey, it's showtime and you didn't actually prepare what you were going to say. So now that's where my improvising skills succeeded and flourished, but it wasn't good enough, at least to me. I'm very critical of what I do, but I really didn't feel like it was the best. So after a few runs of that, we stopped. I recollected, kind of started helping out a lot more behind the scenes. That's whenever I said, I need to learn more about this camera. I need to learn more about setting up the different events successfully, because with the game show, it was an event in itself, bringing out a studio audience and different members to actually play the game and setting up to where they can actually win a prize, all of these different things. I just wanted to know, I wanted to follow that whole Alex Trebek lead and follow and know each and every aspect behind what it was that I was doing, so I could be the best at doing what I was doing.
Now, were you making money with it at the time, or was it just all fun hobby and maybe eventually we'll make money?
All fun hobby and eventually we'll make money. And I guess not even more than a hobby, it was a passion. And that's one thing about being passionate about something. You have to be willing to do it for free many, many, many times, because that experience that you get is invaluable. It is what you want. People will come to me and get frustrated because, hey, Royce, how are you getting paid MC gigs? Where do I start? How do I do it? And I ask, well, how long have you been doing it? How long have you actually been getting gigs? Oh, I started off last year, a few months ago. That's not enough time at all. If you get a paid gig in that time, great, fantastic. Don't turn it down. But it takes a while before it actually starts to make you any type of money.
Well, how do you get paid doing like a talk show or game show host? Unless, do you have to get onto TV to get paid, or you get gigs? Like what would a gig look like? It's live?
A gig live, absolutely.
Okay.
Different bars and restaurants across, especially here in the Orlando area, are really good.
I've never actually seen like a talk show or a game show like live.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
We're at a bar. Like I didn't know that was a thing.
It is a thing. There, I do Sunday night trivia at World of Beer every Sunday at 7 p.m.
Which one, down here?
Downtown, yeah.
Okay.
I also do a vegan trivia night every Wednesday at the Mills 50 District and other little locations as well, just depending on whoever wants to book the game and reserve that night for a slot. So,
What's the main difference from talk show versus the game show?
talk show, it's more educational. I like to talk about really.
So is it like Jimmy Fallon, or is it more like not like that kind of TV talk show, more of like almost like a podcast kind of talk show?
Almost. I like the Jimmy Fallon approach. You know, it's very entertaining and it captivates the audience well.
Yes.
So I try to mix the best of both worlds. Personally, I know that whenever I'm talking to somebody that people are going to learn something, because I like to bring guests on that have a different perspective on life, or they're doing something unique, or they have something great to share. So I try to honestly just put as much personality into it as I can. And then with the game show part, I go overboard with the personality, but I find it to always be just enough. Mm-hmm. Because whenever you're on camera or whenever you are on stage, you have to understand that you have whatever you normally give, you need to give 50% more. If you feel as though, yeah, you're being, really fun and extroverted, be even more fun and extroverted, because being up on stage, being far away from people, it kind of downplays what you're doing. So you have to give more.
Did you ever take acting or improv lessons to help with that, or you just practice on your own?
Practice on my own, honestly.
Yeah.
I did theater back in high school. I always try to do everything creative that I can, but I've never actually taken a formal improv class, even though I've wanted to. I've been meaning to.
I want to as well, to see if it helps. I just want
to see if it'll help. That I am all about it. I've been meaning to go to SAC Comedy Club
Yes,
downtown.
I want to go there as well.
Yes, I've seen some of their shows, and they're very funny people. So, I'm all about taking in knowledge and getting experience from everywhere that I can with it.
Yeah, because I've noticed that when I did my stand-up, that the jokes are just one part, but how you deliver the jokes is another part.
Absolutely.
And I'm not the greatest at embodying and becoming that character that I'm in. Like, I try to, but I don't think it's not coming out right how I want to, and I think improv or acting may help. So I want to try it out.
That's where I think you and my fiance, you all have kind of those same personality traits as far as being by the book, having everything written down. She has a hard time embodying different characters as well, too. So that's something that we always work on, just being spontaneous with it. She does a great job now of impersonating. Well, her family is all Jamaican and Belize. Mm-hmm. So she has that character down well, and whenever she switches to the accent and to the attitude and the jargon, it's hilarious. She sounds like an older Jamaican aunt, angry. It's great. So it's really just kind of about finding your niche, finding the character that you can relate with the most, and just really, really honing in on that.
Yeah, I also noticed, because some of my friends, they're really good with impersonations, but I feel like the people that you surround yourself with really makes a difference, because I've noticed that sometimes even with good friends, they don't like to see you change. So if you try to do something new where you haven't been considered funny before, right, and you try to crack a joke, you're not going to be funny your first time, but they really lay it on you where they're like, don't try, that's not funny, man, don't even try. Like, oh, that nice impersonation, that sucked. And you really don't get to practice. Whereas they, because they're good, they're always doing impersonations and therefore always getting better and therefore actually good.
That's why I hate seeing when people, whenever they criticize like that.
Yeah.
Because my fiance, whenever she first started, same thing. She is quiet her whole entire life. And it's hilarious because she's absolutely beautiful big head of hair. Whenever she walks through a room, like, people always turn and say, "Oh, well, you should be a model. You should be a model. You should be a model." And she wanted to kind of do that, but she just didn't have that outlet before. But now that I do let her MC with me, and she's even gotten her own MC gigs now. She created a commercial for one of our events, and it ended up getting tens of thousands of views.
Wow.
But one of her not really close, but one of her childhood friends had criticized her and said, "Hey, why are you trying to be like Royce? That is not you. You look ridiculous." And it really hurt her feelings. She actually, I hope she doesn't mind me saying, but she started crying about it because...
Well, I mean, that's normal. I felt like the same way before because it's hard. And I don't think that friends necessarily mean to really hurt you, or maybe they do, but not necessarily just to hurt you. It's almost like they just don't like to see you change, maybe for something that they don't even realize within themselves. Like maybe they might lose you, or maybe you just make them feel inferior, or I don't know. I really don't know.
He said, "You're switching up on us. You're changing." She said, "You actually never got to know me because I never got to express myself."
Yes.
So now that she's actually being able to express her creativity side, a lot of people in her past are not used to it. And some of them, they see it for the better. The ones that are really, they're supporting her, they're really happy to see her doing that. But there are those that are saying that Royce is influencing you to be someone you're not. But I just let her know it's time to cut the bad fruit off the tree, make that sacrifice.
Right. And I mean, it's true. Like, the people you're around do influence you to become like that, but it's your choice to choose who you want to be around.
Exactly. And that's something she always mentions, that whenever people say, well, you're changing this, and oh, now that you're in a relationship, you've gone vegan, and just all these different things. And she says, this was the path that I was on before I met Royce. He may be helping guide me through some of those things, but I set the intention. She set the intention to do that and make the change and be more of an outgoing person before me. I'm just more of a catalyst to help her out with that.
And that's a perfect relationship. I'm sure that's part of the reason why you guys are doing so well.
That's what it is, man.
But so the talk show, the game show you do out, you get gigs, but the talk show you do in your setup in your room.
Yeah, I do it in here. We just got picked up by Studio One, so once they're... Have you ever been to Studio One before?
No, what is that?
Oh, they are one of the largest independent studios here in Orlando, Central Florida, really, when it comes to video, music, all that good stuff. And their facility right now is huge, but they have to upgrade and expand because they're getting larger gigs, and they have a new facility that they're getting 3 times larger, but that'll be opening up at the end of July. So once that is done, that's where I'll be doing my show from.
Oh, cool.
So I'm really excited about that.
As of now, where do you upload your talk show to?
Right now, we go live on Facebook every day at 2 p.m., but we upload the recorded episodes to YouTube and SoundCloud as well, too, for those who need a recap, may have missed the live.
Where do you go to? Like, do you just type in your name, Royce Ashcroft?
Royce Ayers Show.
Royce Ayers Show. AIR?
AIRS.
Okay,
yeah.
Ayers Show.
My full name is Royce Ayers Ashcroft, but my middle name is not spelled as in Ayers like broadcasting. It's AYERS.
Right.
So I just kind of changed it up. It made a lot of sense as... Hey, yeah, like airing.
Airing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool. How long are the talk shows typically?
30 minutes.
So you keep it 30 minutes. This is when it ends?
That is it. Try to just... Consistency is key. Keeping it uniformed is something that I'm challenging myself to do. Sometimes I've ran over just a little bit, but only in one case, which happened to be the guy who actually owned Studio One, because the conversation, it was so rich, it was so well, and I think it was something really good for our viewers to watch, and he's gotten quite a bit of views on his episode. We went a little bit long, about 45 minutes, but typically 30 minutes.
Now, how do you promote? Like, what's your strategy for getting it out there and creating a fan base? And do you do ads? You just post on Facebook? Like, what's your strategy?
Personally, I just try to focus on myself.
On the content? You don't
on
worry
the content.
So you post it out there and that's it? You don't worry about telling anyone to... Has it worked, or do you feel like, yes, it has?
It's what works the best for me, because the better I can make the show, which is going to be dependent on the host, the more people are going to just pick it up organically and share it with their friends. So I don't have to necessarily share it out too much. I put it in a few different groups on Facebook, and I just kind of let it go from there. And whoever likes it, they'll share it, they'll comment, they'll tag their friends. If I do a shout out to a different company or business here in Orlando or just the Central Florida area, usually maybe in a few days I'll see that they got tagged in it, and then it ends up reaching them, and then they'll reach out to me, say thank you. And I've gotten different products now, coupons, food. It's been
cool.
Yeah.
And what's your approach for getting guests on the show? Do you only invite people that you've met in person, or do you invite people that you've never met that you think would be interesting? And how do you ask these people to be on your show? Like very detailed wise, like, do you send a message? What do you say? How do you say it, etc.?
The show is all about having an open discussion about the vegan lifestyle.
Okay.
So I don't like to limit it to just one type of person. So I'm very open to anybody who reaches out to me to be on the show. If they want to have the talk, then let's have it. So people have been coming to me. I've been going to people. If I go out to somebody, it's usually someone that I have met in person. They come up to me maybe after a gig and say, wow, that was awesome. What else do you do? I show them the show, and then they say, how can I be a part of that? Or, if they have something cool that they're talking to me about that they want to promote, then I let them know that the best way that I can collaborate with somebody is to bring them on the show, so that way they can get a little bit of exposure. I'd love to have you on the show, definitely.
Yeah, no, it'd be a lot of fun. Should we save maybe the vegan talk for your show then?
Either or. Once we have them confirmed, I send them a reminder, like one of those reminder bulletins on Facebook. I send them, we have the broadcast guidelines, a few different rules that I have set forth on the show, just as far as, attire to wear, what time to be in the studio, and just etc. I get them to send me a headshot, so that way we can make a promo banner. That is one way that I do promote, is I'll create a promo banner, but everybody's looks similar, just different colors. It all has the same information, my logo, their name, the date and time, and then the channels, the different channels that they can find us at, with a big picture of them.
Where do you put the promo banner? Like, where do you upload it to?
Right now, just Facebook, because we go live on Facebook.
And you just post it on your personal page. You don't boost it or anything like that, right?
I don't boost it, but I'll share it on my personal page. I have a separate page, Royce Airs Show, that is separate from my personal, just because I don't want my things to start looking super spammy to people, which I know that's what it kind of looks like right now anyways. Even though a lot of folks have said, hey, that's fine, you're pushing your stuff, and they know me, so it makes a lot of sense. They want to stay in contact. They want to stay updated with just what it is that I'm doing with the show. So I try to keep a balance there, let them know, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. But if they want full content, then I'm always posting on the show's page several times a day.
Okay. Interesting. Because I'm just trying to figure out strategies for myself with the podcast and everything. What do you think I could do better for the podcast, just to get it more reach, or just to make the content better, or make it better for the guest, or just where listeners would enjoy it more? What's a way to differentiate the podcast or just make it better? That's what I've been trying to figure out.
Dude, I think you're doing an awesome freaking job. I love this setup. I love your openness with it. You're very open to just kind of letting your guest do your thing, which I'm actually wanting to kind of adopt some of that myself, because with me always being an improviser, I'm now trying to say, okay, I have to have some things that are static, that are in place, that are just by the book, so that way I keep myself on task. But even with this, you said, hey, we can go for as short as you want, for as long as you want. If it only goes 10 minutes, it goes 10 minutes. I'm looking at the time right now. We're at 54.
Yeah.
Holy crap. what the?
It goes fast, man.
Jeez. That's what I always let people know, like, hey, this 30 minutes is about to fly by. But I've had struggles with some of that with some of my guests, because they'll answer the questions really quickly, and then I look at a clock and it's 2:15. It's only been 15 minutes. And I'm like, man, it's hard for me to get more material out of you. But I'll look over the clock and we only have 1 minute, and I haven't even covered half of what we wanted to speak about. So it's all about just kind of finding that balance in yourself. I believe personally that as you continue to move forward and work on yourself as a host, which just, by the way, Claudio, you are doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
Like, you are a very, very good host. So whatever you end up picking that you want to do as far as your career moving forward, you're going to be just fine.
I appreciate that.
Straight up, with your extroverted tapping into that part of your personality, I am excited to see what the heck you want to do.
I am too.
I want, like, dude, come out. I'd love to have you be a part of some of my events sometime.
Yeah,
as well,
I definitely
too.
keep me updated. Send me texts of when you're doing stuff, and I want to actually schedule a time to come on your show and see how the talk
Absolutely.
show goes down. Do you want to get a little bit into veganism, or if I do the talk show, should we just? Because it's hard kind of when you've already covered a topic. It almost seems like you're covering it again. So if we
Yeah.
did your talk show, we'd have to hit a different angle.
Oh, there's so many different angles. Let's talk about it for a little bit.
Sure. Do you want to go first? You want me to?
Let me ask you, what is your have you ever done a vegan challenge, or what do you know about the vegan lifestyle?
Okay. I've tried a vegan challenge for maybe about like a week or so. I think I only succeeded for like 4 days.
It's different. I'm not going to say it's difficult, because it's really not once you get the correct information, and once you're... Honestly, my biggest advice is hanging around the right people with it.
Yeah.
Because whenever I first told my friends, whenever I first said, yeah, I'm going to do the whole vegan thing, I did it originally for lucid dreaming and astral projection. Have you ever heard of lucid dreaming?
I have.
Yes.
Yes, both of them. Yeah.
Literally. Oh, very nice. Most people know they say, what?
Well, I'm very into that kind of spiritual stuff too, and
Yes.
psychology, and just everything that has to do with that.
Literally, vegan lifestyle is aligned with that. So that's why I went vegan, because it helps decalcify that pineal gland.
Yeah.
It helps with the melatonin, serotonin in your brain, the dream sleep cycle, to where you can go completely lucid in dreams, and it feels like real life. So whenever people talk about manifesting their dreams, wanting to become the greatest versions of themselves, that is the perfect catalyst to do it on. I didn't necessarily know about the whole animal agriculture, the slaughterhouses before. I didn't even know about the dietary benefits of it, or even the environmental impact. I had always considered myself as a responsible adult that I hate, and this is one of the conflicts of my nature, as far as being that improviser and not being well organized, that I do leave a big mess, but I hate leaving a big mess for other people to clean up. But whenever people don't, try to go green with recycling and just cutting down their energy usage, that's literally what they're doing for their future kids and their grandkids. They're bringing them into a world that they pretty much just defecated all over. And it's like, sorry, I didn't know, and just left you a big mess to clean up. But so it has a lot of good different things to it. But originally for me, it was just going that route. But the friends and family that I had, they actually discouraged me from doing it at first. They said that Royce, you're vegan? Because they went to Taco Bell. They brought back some food for everybody. I said, oh, no, I'm trying the whole vegan thing. They said, dude, how long have you been doing it? I said, like about 6 or 7 days now. You're going to end up dying. I had an uncle who went vegan, and after a month, he passed. I was like, whoa, holy crap. So immediately I started back eating meat. I was like, thank you for saving my life. And I really, I was scared at that point. I wanted to go and check and see if I had any deficiencies or anything, but yeah, so it's kind of about surrounding yourselves. Once I got away from those people and I tried it again, And other people said they told you that you're going to die. Okay, that's ridiculous. Let me show you. I started getting sent different documentaries, different texts to read, and it's been a blessing ever since.
Yeah, it is very important though that it's tough when you go vegan. You could be lacking certain vitamins and minerals. You have to be smart about what foods to eat and what has what, so that way you are getting your well balanced. So it takes a little bit of a learning process, in my opinion. But how long did it take for you of being vegan until you were able to get those lucid dreams and astral projection?
It happened literally overnight. Like it was kind of weird because even before it started with
so just the first day, you're saying one day of vegan, that night you're able to lucid dream.
It beforehand, I actually had a motorcycle accident when I was 22, and lady cut me off. Very typical thing, last minute. As I started the tumbling process, I had an out-of-body experience to where I literally thought I was dead. And it felt amazing. I saw like just kind of everything below and beneath me, and it was a very surreal moment. But when I was in that moment, I was like, wait, am I dead? No, everything's going to be fine, because whatever's happening, I can either, I guess, like go back down in my body, or else I can just keep on floating up and up and up. And it felt like I was physically choosing to keep going up and up and up. I was like, wait, the fact that I'm actually having this thought must mean that my job here is not finished. So I guess I'll go back down and continue living life. So I went down, and ever since then, like my fear of death completely went away, because it felt very safe. It felt safer than actually like just being alive and in my body. So whenever I kept ranting to the nurse about that, like, wow, that was great, she said, yeah, but you don't need to die next time to have an out-of-body experience. You can just practice it on your own. I said, how do I practice that? She said, through guided meditation, just meditating, finding, inner peace within yourself. And I didn't really believe it, because I tried meditating before. I said, no, that's not really how it works. She said, well, try more vegan lifestyle, because that's going to get you grounded. That's going to get you more in tune. And I asked her, well, are you vegan? She said, no, it's more difficult, but that's what's actually going to help you. So she explained the whole pineal process with me. And I said, all right, I'm going to give it a shot. So, yeah.
And crap, what was I going to say?
I know that was a mouthful.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, can you explain for the people who maybe don't know the difference between lucid dreaming and astral projection?
Absolutely. Lucid dreaming, I like to think of as step one. Astral projection is once you've made it. Lucid dreaming is just being very aware and conscious in your dreams of what's going on. Astral projection is a whole physical process. It starts with letting your body enter sleep paralysis.
Have you been able to achieve astral projection? Because I heard it's pretty hard for some people.
Several times, and it got a lot easier as I continued through the vegan lifestyle, and it got safer, because that's some people have. I was just talking to a young lady who's on my Noor 17 team yesterday about astral projection, and she mentioned that she's heard from different cultures. She grew up with a Christian background, so she said that different things that she's been looking up on the internet concerning the Bible with it says that it's demonic or that it's satanic, things along that line. And I personally feel that that's just kind of one of those tools used to control people in society to stop them from doing it, because I really do feel that it is one of the keys to helping you become like the greatest version of yourself. Your intuition literally skyrockets when you're practicing that type of very deep meditation.
Now, what does that meditation look like to get into astral projection? Because I've heard where it's like you lay on the floor and you envision yourself climbing up a rope or something until you literally feel like you're out of your body. But like, what has worked for you?
That was one of the techniques that I used to attempt to use. What works for me is when I'm in the lucid dream.
So this is when you go to bed and you're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When I go to bed, I'm sleeping. I see someone else in the dream. Once I've gotten to that lucid state, which is really about keeping your body asleep but your mind awake. So I'll go and just casually ask them, like, hey, where's the way out? And they will point me to a door, or I've had some instances where they push me off a cliff, or
Well, who are you asking? People in your dream?
people in my dream.
Are they people you know, or are they just random people?
It's always different. The most vivid one was this entity that looked like a cat / dragon / old man who was wearing a beautiful tuxedo. And it was really awkward because we were in a small room similar to this, and he was taking up about as much space as that bunk bed there. And it was just like, hey, man, yeah, what's going on? He said, yeah, he's just very casual with it. But I asked, once I realized, oh, wait, I'm in the dream. Okay. It's good you have to make sure you don't panic or get too startled or excited, because then you'll wake your body up. But as long as you can stay calm, you just say, where's the way out? How do I get to the next state? And they will usually show you a door. And at this point, the dream becomes lucid enough to where it's like, I know that I'm dreaming. Once you get to that astral projection state, it now feels like you are completely awake, very unaware of your body in this realm, on this plane, because it feels like you are living a different life now, which I have had instances where one of them felt like I was living this guy for 40 years, because I would go to sleep and wake up in his dream where I literally had a ridiculous ego death. I didn't remember who Royce actually was until he died, and then I woke up and I was like, how was that just a dream? So after that one, I stopped doing it so much, because I woke up very stressed out because I'd literally lived this whole nother life. I'm going to write a book about that one day, because it felt like 40 years, and I died shortly after my 40th birthday. But then I got back here and I was like, wait, was that all just one night? So that's one reason why I encourage people to look into that kind of thing, because the amount of wisdom that I got from that one night felt like 40 years. I got to make a lot of mistakes in that life, so it stressed me out that, I didn't get to see my wife over there anymore, or, I don't know how my kids are doing in that, but even if it even matters, it's interesting.
That is very interesting, especially for someone who has never experienced that.
Yes.
But when you're astral projecting, are you actually able to travel to other places, like that? Is that how it works, or no?
For some people, everybody that I talk to, we all have different experiences with it. And there's some folks who, whenever I'm talking to them, I can there's levels to it. There are serious levels to it. So once you get to a certain state, some people have said that they've gotten to fly around and go and visit other places that are like here on Earth. I personally have never visited anywhere else here on Earth. It's always like some imagination dream world thing, which is why my fiance feels like she can't do it, because she doesn't have that imagination. So she's tried, but it hasn't worked for her. She has tried, and like developing any of those muscles or anything, it takes time. And I try to remind her that this is something that I've been doing since I was 4 years old. So I didn't know what it was back then. I just thought it was me going to sleep and painting different pictures in my mind of being the Mortal Kombat character that I wanted to be, Motaro, and living in my castle that was on a cloud with, all my horses and ponies and whatever. But it's just something that I've practiced doing without knowing it. She had never practiced it before, never even heard of it. So now, as of, this year that we've known each other, she's now just started. So just practice makes perfect with it. It'll be, I tell her not to base it off of me, because I've been working at it for a while.
So how do you get into that lucid dream? Like, is there a method to it? Is there something that you do where it's like, this night I want a lucid dream, and you do something different than a night where I'm just going to bed? And like, how do you wake yourself up in that dream, but not too much? Is there a process, or is it just like you don't really know how you do it, you just sort of do it?
Oh no, there's definitely a process, and it depends on how much are you willing to let me disclose on this show, because I will be completely honest and open.
Yeah, you can be completely honest, like if you, whatever it is.
There's part of it is the diet. just getting more alkaline based foods into you, because you literally become, you are what you eat. You are the average of those 5 people that you hang around. So I like to surround myself around people who are moving forward in life, people who have a very positive energy. I look for traits, even if people are funny, if they're loud, whatever I need. I want those people around me the most. So that way we're just kind of just really balancing each other out. Steel sharpens steel. Also, a big one that helps people are psychedelics, because psychedelics literally open the mind. It's not anything that I had to use, but I have had different people in my life talk about that they have had major success after magic mushrooms or LSD.
Yeah, I heard it's like a shortcut. You can do it the traditional way, meditation,
Yes.
but that's just like a shortcut to it.
Exactly.
Which is there a difference between which one you do, or do they all kind of just work the same?
They all work the same, but in different ways. It's kind of just, I guess, the yin and the yang. They both are part of that Venn diagram, but different methods. You're right. Whenever people say, no, I don't do drugs, I correct them for one, because you can't label everything as, that's just bad because that's a drug. No. People have been doing magic mushrooms and different forms of psilocybin for many, 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 many years before it ever got outlawed, and I believe truly that there's a reason why it got outlawed. But
Well, my look on drugs, which might be very controversial or people won't want to accept, is that there are actually pros to drugs and cons. So
Yes.
everyone doesn't want to look at it, but I think all the pros to drugs have to do with emotions in the mind, and cons to drugs have to do with your physical body. So all the drugs are bad for your body, will kind of maybe deteriorate if you do them too much, but they have a lot of positive effects, like alcohol. Great if you want to be social and go party, but it's not good it's
Bad for the
poison, bad for the liver. Coffee, very good if you want to get motivated and get stuff done, but it's just not good for your adrenals. It's pumping too much cortisol if you do it too much. Cocaine or heroin, whatever. These things, opiates, they might make you feel good or relieve pain, but if you do it too much, it's not good for you, and physically not good for you. But mentally, it can help.
I believe that we have to really kind of look at how we're classifying these things, because whenever I'll ask a lot of my friends, I hang around around a lot of black people, obviously, and I'll ask them, have you ever tried LSD or shrooms? Whenever they ask me, hey, I'm having struggles with motivation, or I'm having trouble staying with the vegan diet. That's one of the things that I'll kind of let them know is, hey, have you ever done LSD or shrooms? Because it's going to help open your mind. It's literally going to connect different nodes of your brain that have never communicated with one another, but now it is. So if you, they'll say, no, I only stick to smoking weed or drinking alcohol. And I say, that's great, because, so how come you haven't done shrooms or LSD? Oh, I don't do any hard major drugs. Those substances, alcohol is more dangerous and physically more addictive for you than shrooms or LSD ever will be.
Well, alcohol is the only drug that if you quit cold turkey, if you're like an alcoholic and drink all the time, you can die from. Like heroin.
Wow.
I believe this is true. I don't have the scientific research behind it, but I've heard someone else say this, that it was a fact. So if someone else wants to fact check it, go ahead. But heroin, if you quit cold turkey, you will have very bad withdrawal symptoms, but you won't die from it, which a lot of people think you will. You won't. But alcohol, just like, what was it? Some famous lady, I forget who it was. Whitney, I think it was.
Whitney Houston?
Yeah. You quit cold turkey, you will die.
Wow.
You have to slowly ease yourself off of alcohol. It's the only one.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's what I try to say is that, I have never, in my experience, met anyone you physically, mentally just can't get addicted to LSD or shrooms, because what you take it, you might enjoy the experience. You will enjoy the experience unless you're around bad people, because it's all about set and settings. So whenever people talk about, I had a bad trip, I'll never do it again, I always apologize to them, not because I'm responsible for their experience or anything, but just because I know that if they were in a different room or setting, that they could have had a much better time on it. But these things, we just gotta have to look at where's that source coming from, who is telling us this information, and why are they telling it to us in this manner. And
Yeah. And so how does it play into the role when you're trying to astral project? Like, do you take it that night? Do you have to just do it once and then you're able to astral project? Like, how does it play a role into astral projection?
The whole trip, if you have ever done any psychedelics, feels very similar to astral projection. So now that you know kind of what to expect, and for different people it's different things. My trips are not the same as like someone like my fiance's. Yes, we've dabbled into it. So she tells me that she had this one experience. She wants to see all the different visuals and things that I see. I would like to experience what she is, but just the way that our minds are wired and set up, can't. However, we've now started doing different guided things for her, so that way I can kind of show her the way through the mind, the same way that whenever I'd ask the entity that I was speaking to, well, where's the way out? That's the same thing that I'd do with her, just kind of talk her through it, and she gets a lot more visuals that way, and she comes to deeper personal revelations that honestly help set her free of different, I like to call them demons that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Demons that program our subconscious that make us act the way we do. So that's really what it's all about. Is for me, it's just personal self-growth and aligning your values. Whenever people talk about that they don't like a lot of the corruption, a lot of the violence in the world, that, well, we don't have this great utopia that we should have as human beings here, because we have plenty of resources. Why are they not being allocated properly? Whenever you really do your research and look into why vegans are vegan, some will talk about the dietary benefits, some will talk about the environment, some will talk about the animals, but really I first and foremost started because of myself, and that's where I think everyone should start with, because everything, as you become a bright light, other people are going to see that and want to know, like, hey, Claudio, what are you doing different from everyone else? And they'll just really be attracted to that.
Which do you do personally? Like, is it LSD? Is it
all
mushrooms?
Of them.
You do all of them? Do you have a preference?
LSD, definitely. Mainly because that one for business, whenever it comes to making the next business moves, it feels like you get years worth of work done in one measly
Now,
day.
are you working while you're on it, or are you just having insights and then you put it to work the next day?
Usually, it depends on how high of a dosage. If it's a high dosage, I am not going to do any work. I'm usually just sitting there thinking, letting nature take its course. The funniest part is whenever you actually do these things, it feels like the universe literally sets up a game board for you to open you to way more, new, cool experiences that you have never been open to. But if you're in resistance to it, then it can get scary very fast. So it's all about just kind of making sure that some people say, yeah, I'm ready for it, which if they say they are, then great. I encourage you to go ahead and give it a shot. But for some people say, well, I don't know when I'm ready. There's really some people, you never really know when you're ready. It's just, you can't get prepared for an experience like that, because it's literally an experience like no other. It's kind of similar to the first time that you actually astral project and it's like, oh, wow, this is really happening. There's a big fear for some folk that you will never be able to turn around and go back to your body, because it literally feels like you died. Now you're entering into a whole different field, whole different plane of, point of view. So it's just good to do your research and make sure you have good friends around whenever you're trying any of those things.
So you're saying while you're tripping, it's going to point you into different directions, but if you resist it, then it can get scary?
Absolutely.
So could you give me an example, or is it too hard to?
Oh, no. I'll give you an example. Whenever I first started doing psychedelics with my fiance, there was a certain demon inside, literally, that I would always avoid, and I could feel it coming sometimes, because you're going through, your mind is now not really altering, and whenever people think of hallucinating, they have this very derogatory, this bad connotation with it, when that's really not the case, because a hallucination is just a different perspective on things. So I see you as Claudio, but now if I get a different perspective of you, I'm seeing you as maybe somebody from my past or something different, which is good to help with different anxieties or depressions that I may be having. Seeing as shrooms is the number one antidepressant, period. It beats all over-the-counter medications or therapies that one can take. Some people have been in therapy for years. There's this one case study on this lady who had a severe case of mental depression, and it seemed like no treatments would work. So finally, her psychologist said, all right. Her therapist said, we're going to give you magic mushrooms, and we're testing it out and see how it goes.
Was it guided? Like she did it and the therapist was there, or she did it on her own?
She did it on her own. The therapist was there, but then she asked to leave, and the therapist said, that's fine. You know, if you feel good enough that you want to walk away, you know, you can. And she ended up going outside and just connecting with nature. She literally laid out in the grass. And I know it sounds like weird or something that a dirty hippie would do, but it's just one of those things that you have to experience to know. It literally connects just everything. You see the oneness in nature. You see that there's really no difference between you and me. That's why I
hear that a lot. Yeah.
Yes. You just feel that everyone is on the same team with everything.
So what was your scary experience when you started to experience that demon?
The first time I avoided it, and I was having a good trip. Everything was starting to make sense, but then I saw the demon, got scared. It was something that I did in my past that I was holding on to and never actually forgave myself for. I thought I did something super terrible, and I didn't want to confront it, so I was like, ugh. And even my fiance, she was like, is everything okay? What's wrong? I was like, nothing. Even though I'm looking at her and I'm seeing the thing that I did. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I avoided it. We had a bad trip, but then it got better. We ended up doing it again few weeks later. Same thing. That same demon popped up and I'm like, oh my goodness. I avoided it. Ended up having a bad trip. She's like, is everything okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Finally, this next time, which I feel as though nature kind of helps guide our trips as well, too. So if you look at what's going on in the sky, whether or not there's a storm approaching or if it's a sunny day, whatever, those things guide your inside as well, too. So this was right before, the day before Hurricane Irma. There was this beautiful sun that you could literally sun gaze into. They say don't look directly into the sun. Oh no, that was a day you wanted to look directly into the sun because the way the clouds were formed and giving it a very protective barrier. Sat there and looked at it for until sunset. It was gorgeous, literally the most beautiful thing you could ever imagine. But I know seeing that, I was like, tomorrow's trip, because we had already planned to do it. We like to plan these things out. So it's going to be something incredible. And it was. The demon came back, but this was the first time I was like, you know what? I'm going to confront you. And I did. And once I did, the most surreal, serene peace had landed on my soul that I have never, ever been able to replicate. No matter skydiving or, being on stage or even sex for that matter. That was the most surreal, peaceful moment whenever I actually confronted it. And I confronted it by acknowledging it, saying that it was there and talking it out with my fiance, since for what her face kind of kept shaping into that, the hallucination. It changed my perspective, and it was almost like me getting forgiveness, but also her saying, wow, Royce, that's literally what has been bugging you this whole time. That is hilarious, because she's like, that is, if that's the worst thing that anybody could have done. She thought that I was going to say something that, like, I killed somebody or I raped someone, something, really bad. But just due to prior programming in my life, I thought that, I did this sin, that it was really bad. She was like, no. And even just hearing that, it feels like you're connecting with source, and that the universe is just telling you it's going to be A-okay. And that's why I recommend for people to, if they're open to it, to try those different things for that reason.
Right. And was it like when it was scary, was it like something that's just like uncomfortable kind of scary? Or was it like traumatizing where you're really terrifying?
Oh, yeah. It's because there's like, whoa, is that
Did you like
really
almost panic and like start to freak out?
Super panicked the first time. Yeah, definitely panicked, because part of it makes you feel like whenever people say, is there a heaven and hell? That's what happens with some people on trips, is that if you're not open to changing for the better, if you're not open to hear what your conscious needs fixing and just things that need to be deprogrammed in your subconscious, it will terrify you if you're trying to hold on to that. And that's exactly what I was trying to do. I was trying to hold on to it, like, nope, this information's not coming out. I'll tell my fiance any and everything, but I can't share this, when really that should have definitely been shared. It wasn't. It was just so hilarious how small of a deal it actually was. So yeah, it is definitely a terrifying experience, and that's why some people say, well, I have a bad trip, I'll never do it, or I heard my friend like went insane while doing it. Like, your friend didn't confront whatever hallucination had popped up, I guarantee it. But if they went back and actually did, they would. So whenever people have severe traumas, if they've done some things that they need to forgive themselves for, or if they just need to move on, then I recommend it for them if they're willing to just go balls deep in it. But I understand that some people, they say, no, I've done really bad stuff. But if you're still here on this earth, I believe you still have, this is your opportunity to fix those wrongs, or just to really just find inner peace within yourself. Why do you want to hold on to that?
Right. For me, what scares me about it is it's like those one, I don't do well with like panics or anything that's like or anything that's weird, because like you're very creative, you have an open mind. I'm open, like I'm open to the conversation, but like I'm very slow, I'm a very gradual person. I don't like to jump into things. Like, for example, when I'm still trying to learn a backflip, like it has taken me like 5 months. I do not just go for it. I'm very slow into things, very cautious, and I don't do well with like big panic attacks like that. But what really scares me more so than that, and why I've never tried it and not really open to it at this point in my life, is because my uncle on my dad's side is schizophrenic. And I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that, well, trauma can trigger it, and that possibly maybe even psychedelics could trigger it. I don't know if that's true or if that's just a myth.
No, that is true. But also the opposite is true too, because I've given it to, I helped guide somebody through who has he had a severe case of schizophrenia, and now it's gone after being on years of Ritalin and different medications and different therapy, literally in and out of jail, doing other actual hardcore drugs like coke and meth. And then I said, well, if you're open to those that are actually harmful for your body and actually really bad for your mind and psyche and motivation, etc., do this, because this medicine will help, I believe, get you out of that. And now he's able to keep a job. He doesn't fly off the handle anymore. He has literally found, he said, wow, this is peace. He was mad whenever he first found out that I did psychedelics. I have to mention as well too that I don't do them anymore. I'll help guide people through it to make sure that they're safe. But at this point in my life, like I feel personally as though I have done way more than enough, that I have gotten all the answers that I needed to get for now. So, maybe if later in life, whatever, it becomes available and it just seems like the time is right, but it's nothing that I'm actually seeking, especially since I can do the same things just through lucid dreaming and astral.
Right. So for him, I can see definitely like there's really can't get worse from there. But for me, it's kind of like, do I really want to risk that, when I'm not schizophrenic now, and then go to like, it's just, that's not something that I'm kind of like willing to take. So that's why I don't do that and why I stay in that case. But
understood. One thing too, I do have to mention that this point in my life, I have seen maybe even thousands. Yeah, been with thousands of different people who have been on those psychedelic substances, whether it's at the beginning of their trip or at the end.
Yeah.
And none of them, not in one case ever, has had some kind of schizophrenic breakdown or nothing that's like long lasting. If they did have some sort of
It was while they're on the drug.
it was while they were on it, and it's the strangest thing because the ones that I had my meltdowns on, honestly, were the best trips ever, because you can learn a lot whenever everything is really nice and fun and, you know, it's in the light. But with that light and all about balance, kind of like we were speaking before, introvert, extrovert, you have the dark side of it, but you can learn so much from your dark side with it, as far as, okay, these are my limits. These are things that I should correct in my life. It honestly, if it does happen to have like that meltdown thing, you will learn that, okay, you will see why it actually happened. And if you're willing to correct those things, then it can help. But it really just starts with somebody on the inside, if they're willing to do that, which not everybody is, and I get it. But it's not anything that should be afraid of. That's something that, like, there's a lot of different groups and movements now that are pushing to give more education about it. So just really making more people more aware of how it actually acts and just kind of letting them make that decision.
So have you ever seen or heard of a case where someone became insane from doing it?
Only through like uses of alcohol and coke, different those type of drugs. There are certain
in combination with that, or just those alone, nothing
Those
to do with
alone.
psychedelics has ever caused insanity?
Psychedelics, no. Not anything long term. Only those, you know.
Right, that brief period while you're under it, and that's
Exactly.
it. Interesting.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you want to go into, or
As far as
just in general? I mean, if you want to branch off to a new topic or keep going down this rabbit hole.
it is a rabbit hole indeed. If there's any other questions or anything that you have with it, I think we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah,
a lot of
I would
ground for
definitely like to
sure.
have you back on the podcast again in the future, because there's a lot more I want to
Absolutely.
cover, but I don't know. I don't want the guests to be on here for like 4 hours just and to listen.
Understood. What are we at right now?
We're at an hour and 30. So yeah,
man.
where can they find you if they want to?
Best way to find me is through Facebook. If you type in Royce Ashcroft friend request or even Royce Ayers show, best way to do it as well too. We're still working on that Noor 17 website, and we should have that. Everything's already purchased domain. I just part of that whole balancing each other out. I am not the organizer behind it. I throw the idea out there and just don't follow up.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So Noor 17, that's your vegan website.
That is our vegan modeling and talent network website.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's spelled Noor 17. That's it?
That is it.
Okay, and Royce Ashcroft is spelled Royce, Ashcroft Ashcroft.
Yes.
Perfect.
That is it.
Well, I'm glad we had you on. We'll definitely do this again. Thank you, Royce.
Absolutely. Thank you.